Welcome everyone to the Township Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for Wednesday, January 17th. It's 4:47 and we'll call ourselves to order. And we'll start off with our national anthem. So please rise and face the flag, which is behind Councillor Trim now. Thank you. Land acknowledgement is next. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Next item on the agenda, number 3, is the adoption of the agenda. The recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the January 17th, 2024 agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Trim and Councillor Moore. Any amendments or changes proposed to the agenda in front of us? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Adoption of the minutes. We have some minutes here to be adopted. The first set recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the regular council minutes of December 6, 2023. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Tabbert, Councillor Moore. Any errors or omissions that have been noted in those minutes? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Next set of minutes from December 20th. The recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the special council minutes of December 20th, 2023. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Olmsted. Councillor Trim. Any errors or omissions noted in those minutes? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Next item on the agenda is disclosures of interest. Is there any disclosures of interest by any of the members of council present tonight or virtually online? Okay, none noted. Next item is item number 6, presentations. And clerk, there's no presentations tonight? And that moves us on to item number 7, the mayor's address. And I have prepared a short address. Good. Well, welcome everybody to 2024, and I hope everyone had a great holiday and a break from our normal council schedule. It seems like it's a long stretch since our last council meeting, but it was only December 20th, and now we jump right back into it. So looking forward to it. So first, I want to recognize the recent passing of a past councillor, Mr. Alan Dick, who served on council from 2011 to 2014. And it was already advertised on social media, but flags were lowered in recognition of his service to our community. And on behalf of council, I just wanted to also share that our thoughts are with Alan's family. So important for us to recognize that. Next, I want to reflect for a moment on 2023. So much has happened in this past year in our first year of our term of council. And before I start to list some of the things that come to my mind when I sat down to write this, I have to acknowledge that I'm probably going to miss some. So I apologize in advance, but here goes. So some of the things that come to mind. Growth and development that has continued at a higher than traditional rates, with permits being issued from everything from businesses, agricultural and residential construction. We've successfully updated our strategic plan. We responded to yet another flooding emergency. We have seen and received federal and provincial grants in support of our seniors community. And through some very good and extensive interaction with our community, we have worked through some interim solutions for ice operations this past year and are now taking steps to generate a long-term affordable plan for our recreation facilities, including our newly acquired CN railbed. We have worked through amendments to our animal control bylaw, a comprehensive zoning bylaw review, and initiated policy development for short-term accommodations. And we have initiated advocacy on the affordability of rural water and wastewater systems. As part of our budget discussions, we know how much operations at the landfill have increased. We know from our road tour how much road work that was accomplished this past year, and yet the volume that's still left to do. And of course, we've seen the effectiveness of our fire department for every call they respond to, whether it's a highway collision, a house fire, or even our recent very traumatic barn fire. But the township as a corporation is only one part of the equation that makes a successful and vibrant community. It's our people, our families, and our villages and hamlets. And there are many volunteer organizations who have delivered so many activities and events over this past year in our community. From fairs to pancake breakfasts, from trails to music in the park, from church suppers to Christmas parades, from hockey to 4-H, and the list can go on and on. It's all of this together that makes Whitewater Region such an incredible place to live, and simply the reason why I love our community. So where do we go from here? As we enter 2024, you'll see on today's agenda some proposed terms of reference that form committees and task forces, and both of which will help to form recommendations that shape our future community services, as well as work to address the affordability of our rural water and wastewater systems. We're also going to continue to advocate for increased provincial and federal investment into our infrastructure, into supporting our growing seniors population and their home support needs, as an example. And of course, continued advocacy on our rural water and wastewater systems. At the same time, we're going to work with the County of Renfrew to advocate for more access to childcare in our communities, as well as before and after school care. In order to continue to attract young families and to grow, we need to be able to support them. And these are just some of the things that we will probably be considering in 2024, and I look forward to working through them with everybody here. So thank you, and that ends my address for tonight. Excellent. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, number 8, which is public comments. Clerk, is there some public comments for us to receive tonight, either in writing or orally?
No, he's not here. Sorry, go ahead.
I do believe we received potentially a request, but I think he withdrew it from John. I don't see John present. If John is present, you can come forward. I'm not seeing John, so the answer, I guess, to you, Mayor Nicholson, is that no, there's no public comments. Thanks.
Perfect. And just to confirm, were there any received in writing?
No, none. I just had the one verbal, but he has since withdrawn, so.
Perfect. Thank you. Move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our reports. Item 9.1 is a library appointment. So the recommendation before us is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve a bylaw to appoint Tracy Keller to the Whitewater Region Public Library Board. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Tabbert, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. And clerk.
Okay. So the township received a letter of interest for for a letter of interest to be a member of the library board from Tracy Keller. Ms. Keller is a Whitewater region resident. She brings with her grant writing skills and previous library board experience. The library board chair, the lead council member, and the mayor were all consulted on the appointment. And if council approves, a bylaw will be passed for the appointment. The bylaw will also tidy up the board members that have resigned. Just a side note that staff are separately preparing a policy on establishing boards and committees, and a report will come to council at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. I'll go to my mover first. Councillor Tabbert, any comments?
We'd just like to welcome Ms. Tracy to our board. I know she's looking forward to getting busy and helping us out right away.
Good. Seconder, Councillor Olmsted, any comments?
No comment, thank you.
Good. Any other questions from any other members of council? Otherwise, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Excellent. Welcome to the library board, Mrs. Keller. Good. Next item, 9.2, our new comprehensive township zoning bylaw. So the recommendation before us is that the council of the Township of Whitewater Region, 1, approve the new comprehensive zoning bylaw to regulate the use of the land and the character, location, and size of buildings and structures within the boundaries of the Township of Whitewater Region. And 2, repeal the former zoning bylaws 23-92, 1989-14, 98-13, 02-1186, 1405-704, 1405-706, and all amendments thereto. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by Councillor Bell. Good. And Planner Benzie, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as you can tell by these recommendations, we have a very important update tonight on one of our township's major projects, the preparation of a new comprehensive zoning bylaw. So this has been a 2-year project in the making that we've been working with our consultants on, EcoView Consulting Services, Inc. And we kicked off the project back in January of 2022 during a lockdown, I believe, with a virtual open house. Since then, we've conducted 2 open houses back in 2023, and we've also had 2 statutory public meetings on July 5th and October 18th of 2023, as well as numerous one-on-one phone calls and in-person discussions with residents and business owners. Our consultants did circulate the draft bylaw to internal and external agencies, and 2 sections, sections 3.16 and 3.17. These are sections that relate to legal nonconforming. These were provided to our legal counsel for review as well. We did receive recommendations from the County of Renfrew and our legal counsel, but we did not receive any other comments or concerns from other public agencies. So just as a recap, I mentioned this at our last public meeting, but the majority of the comments that we did receive from members of the public and businesses were site-specific questions on the zoning of their properties. And this prompted a full review of the schedules and the texts over the summer. And we did make many updates in the zoning bylaw draft that was presented in October 18th. And so since that public meeting on October 18th, we did hear some questions that occurred during that meeting, and they were kind of broader, bigger questions about the link between the official plan and the zoning bylaw and the general legality of a zoning bylaw. So I do want to recognize both of those things. The zoning bylaw is long. It's over 200 pages long. Most of this, the text in the bylaw, is because of the exceptions. So our consultant recommended that we keep all of those exceptions in. So essentially every single zoning bylaw amendment that's been passed since the zoning bylaws existed, they're still there. So really the chunk of the length is associated with all those, but the general provisions and the zoning provisions, we have done our best to clarify them and make sure that they are readable. The very first page of the zoning bylaw also has a guide on how to read the zoning bylaw. So we do want to make sure that this is an easy to read document for existing community members as well as prospective community members. And then in response to the bigger concerns about the official plan and the legality of the bylaw, so staff and our consultants, we have conducted this project in accordance with the Planning Act, and the Planning Act is the governing legislation that governs land use planning matters in the province. The latest official plan of the County of Renfrew, I also want to note that it's still, even our official plan is still quite new as well. So the County of Renfrew official plan was approved partially in 2020 and then final approved on November 9th, 2021. And our township is unique in the county in that we have additional township-specific policies that go into a little bit more detail to guide development along the Ottawa River and our lakes, as they are, important things that we want to highlight as assets in our community. And these policies were approved partially in 2019 and then finally on March 24th, 2022. So this new comprehensive zoning bylaw is a really important tool to implement these new policies. And given the fact that we have done this since 2 years of when those updates were done, that's a pretty good timeline there. So since the public meeting, that second public meeting, we did review the comments we received from the county and our legal counsel and conducted another final review of the text and all the maps. And I just want to highlight the 6 major changes. There's 5 that's in the report, and there's 1 additional change that we had to make since the publishing of this report. So the first change since the last draft, this is arguably the biggest thing that we changed, is that we decided to remove the definition and provisions for short-term accommodations. So council will remember that on October 4th, council directed staff to consult with the public and stakeholders on the approach to govern short-term accommodations in this municipality. And so since this effort is ongoing, based on feedback that we have received from other municipalities, we're recommending omitting it at this time, and then following the fulsome review of how we're going to approach short-term accommodation rentals, we will determine if dealing with them is appropriate in the zoning. So we just didn't want to do a stopgap measure now and then have to change something later. So we still can, if based on our review, it's determined zoning is appropriate, we can change the zoning bylaw at that time. But for now, given that zoning might not be the most appropriate tool, we decided to recommend that we remove it. So the definition and the provisions have been removed in the draft that is before you today. The second thing is that there's a couple different things on the maps, and these are related to areas of natural and scientific interest, provincially significant wetlands, the future location of Highway 17, and the location of the TC Energy pipeline. So the previous version of the bylaw had text provisions, so there are setbacks that development has to be set back from these features, and the setbacks were in the text, but we didn't have them physically on the schedules themselves. So just to improve readability, they are now located on the maps. The third thing is that all of the 2023 zoning bylaw amendments, you'll recall that we did pass quite a few back in December. There were 4, so we've made sure that all of those are now integrated into this final version. Number 4, based on comments that we received from our legal counsel, we did change the non-complying building section and the non-conforming uses section, mostly minor edits, just to make sure that these sections were easily better interpreted by staff and that they do conform with the Planning Act. The 5th change that we made was an update to the administration and usage section. So during the last public meeting, we talked a little bit about minor variances and how when a new bylaw is passed, the minor variances to the former bylaw, they no longer exist. However, we do have a provision, and at the time we recommended that they can be honored for 1 year, and based on feedback that we received during that public meeting, we're now recommending that it is 2 years to give people a little bit of a longer grace period to build with a minor variance. And then lastly, the one final change that didn't get into this report is a change to the accessory dwelling provisions, just to clarify that when you're on a waterfront property, you cannot have a secondary dwelling as of right. You would need to do a minor variance, so we've just clarified that in the text as well. So with all of these final updates in place, staff are now in the position to recommend that council pass the bylaw, and we're confident that this bylaw will be a much better tool to guide development in our community for the years to come. And I just want to make a final couple comments on next steps. So once the decision has been made by council, staff will issue the notice of passing or refusal, and that's when the appeal period will start. And I also just want to highlight that this update and consolidation of this bylaw is a major milestone for us. Moving forward, we'd like to explore the options and costs to put an interactive version of the maps online. So we'll be able to show the PDFs, but some other municipalities have the ability through GIS. You could go online and you could click on a property, and then it would just your own property, and it would click up, as opposed to having to look at the PDF. So we don't quite know the cost yet for that, but it's something that we'd like to explore and maybe implement in 2025. And then the zoning bylaw is a very important strategic tool to implement the official plan, but there's other tools that we can use, some that we have that are also a little bit outdated, and some that we don't have yet, like our site plan control bylaw. And so as we move forward this year, we'll be looking comprehensively at those tools as well, and then recommending updates as appropriate, and we'll be coming back to bring those recommendations to council in our future meetings. So I'll stop there, and thank you.
Thank you, Planner Benzie. Excellent. And I think it's 30 years. This is encompassing 30 years of changes. So it's great to be at this point making a comprehensive zoning bylaw proposal. So I'll go over to my mover first. Councillor Trim, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly do. I am very, very pleased that this has happened. You've mentioned, and has been mentioned by our planner, that this has been a long time coming. But what isn't mentioned is how hard it was to work efficiently and effectively with 4 different documents, and trying to explain to the public why something was allowed in one area and not in the other. So this is going to be a big help for the planning department and for the building department. Also, it was such a big job that we needed to get the services of a consultant. But what's not mentioned is how much work our staff did. In particular, our CAO, Ivan, using his planning skills, our planner, and other support staff. I just want people to appreciate how big a job it was and how important it is for our community. It's going to make everything so much better. So I'm really pleased to move this tonight, and I'm hoping that it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trim. And I'll go to my seconder, Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I think Joey said everything that I was thinking. So yeah, thank you very much for all your hard work and putting that all together, all the public consultation, which isn't always the easiest process, but completely necessary whenever we're doing this with 4 communities that came together. What is that, 23 years ago now, number of years ago? So it's about time that we kind of start looking at things as Whitewater Township as opposed to 4 different communities. So I think it's great. And thank you very much for all your hard work, staff.
Thank you. And any other comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So will this document be posted to the website once it gets approved? To the township website?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll post it, I think, once the appeal period has passed. So until that time, if we did receive an appeal, we would have to manage that, and it wouldn't come into place yet. So if no appeals are made within the 20-day period, then it'll be posted online.
Okay. Is it possible to post it as a pending, just so the community is aware that is the document? You know, for example, if somebody's looking, maybe they do have an issue that they want to appeal, but they can't find the document. So is there a way that, I don't know what the process for that would be?
So we do have to post publicly that this has happened. And I believe it will be, I have to work on this tomorrow, but posted even in the paper that, so we do have to publicly alert people that,
Right.
of the decision of council, just to make sure that we're being transparent and making sure that everybody does follow their appeal rights if they, so that will be done, and the mechanism to that, whether it's in the paper or online, it'll be in one of those two ways.
Right?
If I could just add, we'll print a copy of the draft or the document that's been approved by council, should it be approved tonight, and make it available at the front counter if somebody wishes to come and view it as well. I think that will be a requirement as well as part of the Planning Act. But yeah, certainly it'll be made available to meet our statutory requirements under the appeal period, yes.
Super, thank
Yeah.
you. One more question, if I may. And I kind of know the answer to this, but for the public's sake, so does the new comprehensive bylaw consolidate former variances, township variances? For instance, in Westmeath Township, may have had a 15-meter setback for waterfront, Cobden may have had a 10, and Ross may have had a 13. So does this streamline all of those into one? Right.
Yes, just to get it on the record, the water setback across the whole township is now 30 meters. So that's the main goal of
So I
this,
was
was
a
to
bit
make
low.
sure that there weren't different, it wasn't just water setback, there were other little things, permitted uses, setbacks in general, all sorts of really unique things that differed by township. So I was just getting used to it, actually. Now we've got this whole new one, but.
Well, that's been a thorn in my side for almost 10 years, that why can one township do it when the other one couldn't? So I'm in favor as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Olmsted. And Deputy Mayor, I saw your hand.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. I do just want to echo Councillor Trim and Councillor Belt's comments. This has been so many years in the making, and I just want to, I just hope people appreciate how much has gone into this over the years. And I'm going back to previous councils and previous staff and previous everything. So it's just so great to come to this to fruition. And again, just thank you again to Ivan, to Councillor to CAO Burton and to Planner Benzie for all the hard effort in the last couple of months and years. It's been great. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments or questions from, Councillor Moore?
Just for council to realize that this is going to be a working document. There are further things to transpire from this that have perhaps been changed, as was read in the first 5 outlines. This will be a working document forever, and it will constantly change. So I think it'll be up to the council members and through the office staff to make sure that we're always aware of changes so that we understand it as well. So thank you for all your hard work, and please keep us up to date. Thank you.
Any other final comments? Good, and with that, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Congratulations, Planner Benzie. You now have a new zoning bylaw. Excellent. 9.3 is our next item. Community Services Advisory Committee. Recommendation is that the Council of the Township Whitewater Region approve the terms of reference for the Community Services Advisory Committee and direct the Mayor and Councillor Lead to engage with stakeholders to select members for appointment. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Moore. Going over to the CAO.
Yeah, thanks so much. So the present report is a follow-up to a decision of council back in September. So back in September, following some substantial engagement with the public and the decision of council around the 2023-2024 ICE season operations. The council also moved 4 other motions for staff to review. They're identified in the background section of this report, one of which is to establish the terms of reference of a Parks and Recreation Committee, which we're terming now the Community Services Advisory Committee. So the purpose of this committee is to examine many things, many progresses of the department, one of which would be the adaptive reuse of our non-ice facilities, which another covering report will be discussed tonight through our new manager, Stephanie Plebin. But this present report is to adopt the terms of reference for the committee. So other items that they might examine is different policies. So as noted in the motion is that staff would come back to council with a report around rates, around fees, cancellation, allocation policy. So that policy in draft would be vetted or reviewed by the committee. And they would essentially provide some feedback and some recommendations to council. So those are the types of things that we would bring forward to the committee in order to get their feedback with respect to some of the changes that will occur around Parks and Recreation, around programming within our community. So I've outlined a summary of the terms of references. So the group will serve to support and advise council. They'll provide a voice and forum for recreational organizations, agencies, and community groups. Essentially, we've identified that there'd be 7 to 9 volunteer representatives on the committee, 2 members of council, including to be appointed by the mayor, and then the resource staff would be the manager of community services and the superintendent. Presently, we're considering the 4 rec associations, the agricultural societies, in lieu of the purchase of the acquisition of the former CN rail line, the ATVs and the snowmobile clubs, and perhaps the seniors groups as well. So those are kind of the highlighted representatives, but I'll work with the mayor and Councillor Lee to engage with these groups to appoint the members. So no financial implications with the adoption of this report. I anticipate probably meeting with the group maybe 9 to 10 times a year. The term of the committee would be the same term as council, so this committee would actually dissolve effective, I have noted here, I think it's September 2026, before the election, and it'll be the decision of the next council to decide whether or not they wish to continue this committee. Certainly staff are supportive of this, and it aligns with the previous decision of council. Thanks so much.
Good. Thank you, CAO. Go to the mover first, Councillor Bell.
Yeah, everything looks great to me. I think it's a good opportunity to try to open up some lines of communication between some of the township doesn't do any programming itself, but it'll open up some lines of communication with the organizations that are doing the programming in the community, and hopefully with that line of communication we can kind of get on the same page between some of the organizations that are trying to do the same things in the different towns. So I think it's a great first step, and look forward to seeing where this goes. So.
And the seconder, Councillor Moore.
Just to reiterate what Councillor Bell has stated, things have changed an awful lot, whether it be COVID or just in general, our community's attitude towards recreation, etc. We have to keep up. Our ratepayers expect something, and for the last couple of years, we haven't even talked to our community. So this is a push forward, and hopefully the committee stays going for a number of years and comes up with some hefty decisions. I know that some of council are concerned with some of the decisions that could be upcoming. And this year is showing us how much we need ice surface. So the rest of sort of has taken a back seat, whether it be ball diamonds or now the new CN trail. We can't let all this stuff get away from us. We have to keep up, and we have to keep pushing for our community to be active. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from any other members of council? Good. Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Excellent, thank you. Well, for our new manager, we haven't had an opportunity, so I'm going to pause for a second. We haven't had an opportunity to introduce our new manager. So, CAO, could you take a second and just introduce?
Perhaps I'll defer to our Deputy Mayor Rieger. I think she's prepared a few notes. If you'll allow me, and through you, the clerk, if I'm permitted to defer to the Deputy Mayor?
That's perfect, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you very much, Mayor. We'd like to welcome Stephanie Plebin. Hi, Stephanie. It's nice to see you. I'm sorry I'm not here in person, but it is nice to see you again. Stephanie served as a Recreation and Community Development Coordinator for the Township of Madawaska Valley for 3 years. In this role, she served as a senior management team, directed, managed, and recruitment employees for multiple facilities and managed annual budgets. Stephanie comes from the National Defense from the last 2 years, working with the role of Human Resources Assistant. So we're more than welcome to have you on board with us, and please, everyone, give her a good warm welcome. And when you see her out and about, please say hi to her, and we look forward to working with you for sure. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So, welcome. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Welcome, and really look forward to moving some things forward. And this committee is obviously a huge piece that we've been talking about for 6 months or more as we've gone through the whole ICE operations discussions. So look forward to seeing how we can move those yardsticks. Excellent. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. So 9.4, which is the adaptive reuse of Beachburg and Westmeath facilities. The recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the single source award for the Phase 1 adaptive reuse assessment of the Beachburg and Westmeath arenas to Dillon Consulting Limited in the total amount of $23,615.44, inclusive of non-refundable HST. A mover and a seconder, please. So moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Trim. And this is going over to our new manager.
Thank you. So I'm here to present the report for the adaptive reuse of the Beachburg and Westmeath facilities. And I wanted to just say that this report was in the making for, I guess, the past few years. And in particular, September 2023, when Council directed staff to investigate this. We're looking from the 2021 Parks and Recreation operational review, which listed this as one of the recommendations as well. The work plan that's proposed comprises of the 2 phases, one being engagement with the public and the following being building modifications. At this time, we're recommending to just move forward with Phase 1. And that would involve the public engagement and the where we will be report, which will follow. And basically saying what they heard and where we want to move forward with that. The next steps would be, I'm just going to refer to the review itself, would be a needs assessment and a feasibility study, and would be an additional cost, including the Phase 2 building modifications, which we're not at yet. So we're going to go ahead with the public engagement with your approval today, and see where we are at within these 2 communities and develop a plan forward. And the plans that I've read in the review will outline different methods of communication. So there will be online opportunities as well as in-person visits and meetings that people can attend at their own leisure to be able to contribute to this and making the report wholesome as we can. And that's all I have for you.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Bell as the mover.
Yeah, I think this is, Stephanie mentioned, this has kind of been coming for quite a while now. We've had the issues with the ICE facilities over the last couple of years, and through this budget, we've determined that Cobden is going to be the one that's operating next year. So one of the comments that we heard a few times in consultation with the rec associations was just the lack of a plan, or the lack of a bigger plan moving forward is kind of weighing on some of the public's mind. Not knowing what's going to happen with the facilities, as they're kind of an integral part of both Beachburg and Westmeath. So I think this is a great first step into looking at what some of the options are, and look forward to kind of seeing the results of the consultation with the community and some of the options that we might have. So all for it.
Perfect. And Councillor Trim, seconder.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this council was criticized, quite rightly so, for not following through with the recommendations from the 2021 report. This is the result of listening to those concerns, and I'm happy that we are. As part of the consultant's job, as Stephanie pointed out, there's going to be consultation. And I'm going to try to talk to as many of the 200 people that showed up in the rink hall in Westmeath to make sure that they go online to say their piece. We have to remember that these facilities in our communities are not unlike a school. There's an emotional attachment. And so going through this process is going to help the community figure out what we can do going forward. So very, very pleased, and I hope that all council will do whatever they can to support the consultant and the process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Trim. Any other comments or questions from other members of council on the proposal? I just have one question, Stephanie, if I could. The completion, the final report, it will also give us a better idea of how or what grants we could end up applying for in order to implement some of the recommendations. Will it enable that process?
So what it will assist in those applications. So when you apply for a grant, usually there are questions that say, show me proof that this is what you need. Having this report by our side will absolutely help you move forward your communities with saying, we've already proven that this is a need in our community, look at this report. So absolutely, that will be something that will assist with grant applications in the future.
Perfect. And we know from, having just gone through the budget, that sourcing those funds from the federal and provincial governments is going to be key to any success realized in the adaptive reuse. So an important first step. Good. If there's no other comments or questions from members of council, we will call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. First report done. Okay. Item 9.5, interim 2024 interim tax levy and temporary borrowing. So the recommendation is that the council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the 2024 interim tax levy bylaw and 2024 temporary borrowing bylaw. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Trim. Treasurer, floor is yours.
Thank you. It's just a short report on two annual bylaws that we do every year. The first one I'll talk about is the interim tax levy bylaw. This one's authorized through the Municipal Act. It allows us to bill 50% of the tax levy from the prior year. This is a cash flow issue, or a piece that allows us to have cash flow earlier on in the year, and makes the final levy smaller because it is only based on more or less half of the year. So it's 50% of last year's levy broken into two installments. The bylaw shows the installment due dates will be February 29th and April 30th. The other bylaw is the temporary borrowing bylaw. That one's an annual one that, again, authorized through the Municipal Act. It allows us to, if we have issues between the time whenever the final tax billing actually goes out, from the start of the year to that time, August, where there's cash flow issues, there isn't enough, we can do temporary borrowing until the next billing cycle comes through, where more cash flow is incurred by the township. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Treasurer. Councillor Olmsted, as the mover, any comments or questions?
No, thank you.
And Councillor Trim?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been talking to our treasurer, Mr. McGonigal, about this, and I'm pleased to know that it's a kind of a personal goal of his not to have to borrow any money at all, which I support because interest rates are high. However, I understand we need to have the bylaw, and also I think that as councillors, if we're talking to ratepayers and we're talking about taxes, which quite often we are, encourage, if they don't already do so, to have pre-authorized monthly payments. That really helps with our cash flow. We have to make, as a township, we have to make payments on a monthly basis, and so it's nice to get money in on a monthly basis. So that's something we could encourage. I know personally that's what I do, and it helps very much with budgeting, and it really helps with finances here at the office. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good. Advocating for the treasurer. Thank you. Good. Other questions or comments from other members of council? Good. I just have one. I'm curious, and I can't remember the numbers from the budget, but our past borrowing costs, do you have any idea what that might be? Or could provide that at a later date, maybe?
At a future time, yeah. I don't have it off the top of my head. I know in 2023, we only had a very short period of time where we actually had to do temporary borrowing, and then for the rest of 2023, we didn't incur any.
Okay. No, just for perspective, appreciate that, just as a subsequent email or something. Good. If there's no other questions from members of council, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Good. Next item is 9.6, establishing and regulating bylaws. So the recommendation is that the council of the Township of Whitewater Region, 1, approve the new establishing and regulating bylaw to establish, maintain, and operate a fire department for the protection and security of the residents of the Township of Whitewater Region, and 2, rescind the former bylaw, number 1-2-17, and all amendments thereto. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Tabbert. Seconded by Councillor Bell. Going to the fire chief.
Thank you. A little bit of background on this bylaw. The current bylaw was done just after amalgamation, and the only adjustments made to it were to the org chart as the structure of the department changed. It never really laid out the core services, didn't speak to fire prevention, except as mandated by the province. So this is really just a document to lay out what we currently do as a fire department in a little bit more of a structured fashion. This is really the start of, trying to formalize a lot of our practice, and it allows for, the future fire chief or council members or the public to really be able to look at a document and say, okay, this is what the fire department does beyond just responding to fires. There's more to it than that, and there's legislative requirements as well. So the gist of it is to lay out our fire inspection process, our training, and our core services, and establish what we respond to above and beyond those core services. A couple of things I want to bring to your attention would be the org chart as drawn there. It should be noted that all of our fire stations have a station captain, 3 lieutenants, and possibility of 15 firefighters. Just to keep the paper a little clearer, it may appear that it's only for one station. So each station would have that structure of the lower 6. There's no intended financial implications for any of this. Like I said, most of it's just formalizing what we're already doing. So with that, I'll turn it over for any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Fire Chief. I'll go to the mover first, Councillor Tabbert.
Through you to the chief, thank you very much for this report. I like the idea of a comprehensive bylaw. I went over it, and I spoke to the chief about some of the concerns I had, and all is well.
And my seconder, Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I just have one question. As far as the core competencies or the kind of the 7 main categories that you lay out here, has there been any conversation or has there been any talk about a level of service for medical responses in the communities as far as just general with the DFib, CPR, that type of thing from our fire department?
Nothing specifically from our fire department. I don't believe at this time anybody in the county is doing a true tiered response, as I think you're speaking to. We do lift assists, and we will respond as requested, but there's nothing tiered about our responses currently. Would be something we would need to discuss with the county paramedics and obviously with council to provide some direction on that.
Good. Good. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Good. Seeing none, I have one question. And I don't have a hard copy here to skim through right now, but what does the new establishing bylaw speak to in terms of water and ice rescue and the arrangements we've made with Pembroke Fire Department?
It doesn't speak directly to our pending agreement with Pembroke, but it does speak to our training to the awareness level, which is essentially identifying that there's a problem, trying to keep the public and ourselves safe, and then supporting whatever resources would be coming from, in this case, the city of Pembroke.
Good, thank you. Any other last questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Next item, 9.7, is the Water Financial Plan, Water and Wastewater Rate Study Award. So the recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the award of a sole source contract for the preparation of a water financial plan and a water and wastewater rate study to Watson and Associate Economists Limited at a cost of $31,545.60, including non-refundable HST. And a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Moore. Seconded by Councillor Bell. Good. And which staff is taking the lead? Manager of Public Works.
Yes, thank you.
Yours.
The financial plan is one key element of the 5 requirements that is required for a municipal drinking water license. As seen in the report, the one item that we have to submit to the Ministry of Environment and Conservation Parks is the financial plan. Then Aqua actually helps us with the other 4 items, from the permit to take water to the DWQMS, which is provided by Aqua. As you're aware, the Township has 3 drinking water systems, and all 3 licenses expire in September 23rd, 2025. The one requirement is we have to submit the application for the license for 6 months prior to the expiry date. That's why staff are providing that the financial plan be done in the 2024 year. Additionally, the work that was provided that's submitted by Watson Associates also included a water and wastewater rate study. The previous rate study was completed in 2019 by Watson's, and staff that feel that at the same time as the financial plan that staff have the rate study reviewed. There's been many different factors that have changed since the last rate study. With the completion of the new Cobham wastewater treatment plant, DCs, and also the adoption of the township's asset management plan. Watson's proposal, there was 12 different elements, ranging from the background study to council workshops, then right towards the actual adoption of the council presentation of the plan and the wastewater, the water and wastewater rate study. As you noted, the council did ask for one additional meeting to attend the proposed water and wastewater task force session. So we will work with the task force in one session to go over rates, the different types of water and wastewater rate structures. Watson did provide a schedule that was going to be completed by the end of June 2024. Staff will recommend to Watson to actually extend that time period, so staff can work with Watson and also with the task force and be completed in June in July or August 2024. As I stated before, the water and wastewater budget of 2024 did include costs for the water financial plan and the water and wastewater rate study. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move over to my mover, Councillor Moore.
Thank you. Lane, you said a lot of what I was going to say. What will happen when we receive this study, and what will happen to it when it gets involved with 9.8, which we haven't got to yet, which is water and wastewater task force. The more information we have for the task force, the better off we'll be. Since we had our last rate study, which is 2019, I thought it was 2018, but it was close. A lot has changed, as you said, so I'm full agreement with this task force, this study. I know it's a lot of money when we start looking at what we pay out as to what we get in, but I think it's time for another study, and as I said, it will help us with 9.8. Thank you.
Good. And my seconder was Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I agree. Having a updated document and study, I'm sure it's going to already tell us what we already know, that the outlook is not good for the ratepayers, especially here in Cobden. But if we're going to advocate as far as on behalf of council or by council on behalf of those residents, having these updated numbers and updated financial study to advocate on their behalf whenever we're attending these conferences like Roma and AMO, I think it'll be a great document to have moving forward. So.
Perfect. Any other comments or questions from other members of council? Yeah, Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, as part of this study, I'd like to see a component of, so what's next? So rather than, all of us at the table are pretty smart, we can probably figure out what the annual cost is and divide it by the number of ratepayers and spread it over the number of years, but it's kind of like what's next. And what I mean by that is we all know we're scared to death of what's coming, but how can you help us figure some of that out? So I'm sure this company, Watson Associates, they've done a number of these, and they probably have some recommendations on how to tap into various resources, but I'd like to see that actually part of this study rather than just a financial plan and a wastewater rate study. I'd like to see them tap into either their resources or resources other communities have used in a similar study that they may have done in the last few years. And I'd like that rather than a conversation after this study is done, the conversation with the company, you know, we have those all the time. I like it actually documented about, okay, here's some potential streams or next steps to recoup some of what could be coming down the road. And I don't know how we say that or how we add it to the report itself. And obviously, I think this will go, 9.7 will be in conjunction with 9.8, the next item on the agenda, where, as Councillor Moore said, I think they go hand in hand. Anyway, just some thoughts.
Good. Can staff comment to that? Can we amend that contract to include some forward-looking recommendations, especially comparators, with other examples of similar systems?
Yeah, so one of the tasks is to compare the actual, with neighboring and the actual feasibility of it in relation to the actual, sorry, with the actual, sorry, we're looking for the, if you can help me, with actually like the actual average income. And additionally, one thing we asked for the actual current classification to be looked at. I believe it was looked at, but it wasn't updated at how each classification of a business fits into either small, medium, or large commercials. That will help the business category, and also look at the rate structure. So will it stay at the flat rate, or will they suggest moving to a different rate structure, such as metered, for example?
Homestead.
Yeah, more what I'm looking for is an appendix or a separate part of the report to say that region, Meaford region, Peterborough region, whatever region went through a similar exercise where they're in the same sinking boat that we're in with rates and future rates, and here's what they were able to do about it. So possible recommendations are, they identified 3 areas that they were able to source funds from. I won't go down the avenue of, taxes involved in, can they use, for instance, some tax-paying rates, which I know there's some legal implications there to help offset some of the costing. We have different revenue sources of I can't remember the name of them now. That the road tax, and how many different areas can we tap into to help offset this potential issue? That make sense?
Yeah, if I could add through you, the Mayor, it would not be uncommon for a company like this towards the end of the process, after they analyze the data, to provide recommendations. So certainly at our startup meeting, we could reiterate what you're saying, and as the councillor lead in finance, where this portfolio falls under, perhaps you could join us in that startup meeting, just to maybe express that kind of idea. Maybe that's the best approach, but if there's additional cost, then we'll verify that and come back to council with it. But certainly, when we did the development charge bylaw and we did the previous wastewater rate study, there were recommendations coming out of that among the rate increases, but there's other recommendations that came out of that as well. So it wouldn't be uncommon for that, and probably could form part of the assessment.
Okay,
thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm just going to add to Councillor Olmstead's before I turn and acknowledge Councillor Trim. Just to your tracking, we do have a report that has some comparators of other waste and water systems. The rates are being compared by assessment and by average household income to give us a better comparator than just pure budgets or even debt servicing capacity as a percentage of I think revenue. I think that's the right word for it. So those comparators, unfortunately, we're way outside those averages, but they give us some. With that, we can sit down when we meet with them, if you can do that, and bring that idea forward. There is some that are on the high part, and we could ask those to be the comparators in this situation. And if they've done their rate studies on those communities, and then it should be as easy as pulling some of that data.
Yep, fantastic.
and drawing it in.
Super. Thank
Okay,
you.
so I think we can tie this in. And again, if there is additional cost, I think it's valuable. I think we just come back to council, or if it's within your delegated authority, yeah, it can be a proceed. Excellent. Councillor Trim, I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it is really unfortunate that we haven't been granted an audience with the minister at Roma, because this is yet another example of where provincial requirements have a very significant financial impact on the users. And I know we will get to speak with ministry staff at some point, but and I hope this is used as another example of how this is impacting our rates, and which are already so high. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Trim. I'll just get the CAO to speak to, we have a confirmed booking now with Ministry of Infrastructure. It's not at Roma, but it's subsequent. Maybe the CAO could refer.
Yeah, so the back, I think, in perhaps in September, when council was moving motions, one of which was to request delegations to the Ministry of Infrastructure, and others perhaps at the Roma conference, which is an annual conference for the rural Ontario municipalities of Ontario. So we did submit that delegation. It was a joint delegation with the municipalities of Madawaska Valley and the town of Renfrew. And due to the constraints around the minister, which is Minister Surma, that's the current Minister of Infrastructure, due to her availability at Roma, she was not available to take our delegation. However, her parliamentary assistant, which is an MPP in Ontario, P.A. Sandhu is the gentleman's name. We've met with him before at AMO, and we met with him at Roma, at both of the conferences last year. He's accepted a virtual delegation, if you will, on February 26th. So I've circulated that back to our neighboring communities who are supporting us and are going to join us on that. So we do have a delegation virtually with the parliamentary assistant. So I think it's positive that maybe it's a benefit to be outside of the Roma conference, because it's so fast paced and it doesn't really give time for the staff and even the minister to reflect on our presentation, if you will. So this is separate from the conference, and I think will prove beneficial, at least for getting our word across. So that's the summary with respect to our Roma delegation request. We continue to advocate outside of the Roma conference and those delegations through recent emails, through regional elected officials, the warden, and other county councillors as they sit on other boards, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. So there's still movement on the advocacy front. It's just we did not receive a delegation at that conference. So I've connected back with the offices of MPP Yakabuski, so I've communicated with his staff that we have the delegation in February. So I will be submitting our submission to them and requesting that John attend the delegation with us to provide us our support. So that summarizes it, if you will, the Mayor. Thanks.
Good. Thank you for the update, CAO. Now, and I know that information is I think I saw the email today, so it's fresh off the press. So thank you. Good. Open the rest of council if there's any other questions or comments with respect to this recommendation. Seeing none. I have a couple. I'm gonna just because I want to speak to the actual content of the recommendation. It's a sole source. Can we speak to why it's being proposed as a sole source?
Sorry. Yeah, definitely. Staff felt that the sole source to Watson's would be adequate. Watson has done our previous, I believe, 2 water and wastewater rate studies, and also the financial plans, and they've also done the townships. Development charges, and staff felt that a source into Watson would be get the best best knowledge for our municipality.
Perfect. Sorry, CAO, you wanna
Yeah, if I
add?
could just add, so certainly what this allows for staff is that they've worked with us before and they have a lot of the content, the background information for our community. And so it'll allow us to maybe focus on the task force a bit and work through the task force should it be adopted tonight. So, sole sourcing to Watson's, this is a company out of, in Ontario that's done, hundreds of these types of things. So extremely versed in this area of business. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. My next one is, I know we had budgeted $50,000 for this report initially. It's coming in at just over, or 31.5. Can you comment as to how that savings was found, or why is it cheaper?
Yeah, so I believe in the first few budget meetings it was $50,000, but the actual approved amount when the budget was passed was $35,000.
Perfect. And there's just 3 things that were mentioned that I'm hoping you will be able to get more information out of that report. The first one you mentioned was the workshop. Can you confirm if council will have an opportunity to engage directly with the contractors, similar to what we've done with the rate study in 19?
Yeah, so there's a council workshop. I was reviewing the proposal, and in fact, it's in person. So Mr. Abbs, who was part of the last assessment, it was Mr. Scanlon who was his former boss. I think he's since retired. So Daryl will be present. It appears in person for a council workshop. So what we would do, I'm considering it now, is maybe it's perhaps Mr. Abbs could meet with perhaps the task force in the morning and then have the council workshop in an afternoon council meeting. So we would just revert a regular council meeting and have that workshop. So yes, in person, it appears, and he would be, with council, reviewing the study. Yes.
Perfect. The other 2 items that I just want to make sure we can get out of their report is just more understanding about the infrastructure in the ground. A lot of our focus currently is on the actual processing plant. And I'm curious to understand more of not just the infrastructure, but the future costs of it. So and I know they put numbers in there, but just as much detail as possible. And the last one, it kind of ties into Councillor Olmstead's comments, but the future developments. We know we have subdivisions at different states of approval. How do those factor into those plans and any rate forecasts? At least as a variable, so we can appreciate potential impacts. It's good. Does that trigger any other comments or questions from council? Okay, seeing none, we will call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Good. Next item, 9.8, which is our water and wastewater task force terms of reference. The recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the terms of reference for the water and wastewater task force and direct the mayor and councillor lead to review and recommend members for appointment. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Olmstead. No, you can. It's good. And CAO, please.
Yeah, thanks so much. So the present report and the recommendation and the attached terms of reference come following a motion passed by council on December 6th. On December 6th, among other items, one is advocacy at the County of Renfrew level, which wasn't part of the first motion passed in October. And then secondly, connecting with AMO, Roma, and FCM, relating to the unaffordability of the rates. But essentially, the last part of that motion was to establish a water and wastewater task force, and that task force was identified as providing advice and policy recommendation relating to the operation and life cycle cost of water and wastewater systems, including the review of the programs, policy, solutions locally and within other relevant jurisdictions. So the present report is to establish those terms of reference, and then again through the mayor and Councillor Leeds is to find members to sit on that task force. A short list has been discussed amongst the mayor, the member, councillor, and myself already. So this is, as council will be full aware, comes following a presentation from Mrs. Guest back in the fall of 2023, outlining the increasing water and wastewater rates and affordability constraints for our residents. So the intended purpose of the task force, you'll notice in the terms of reference, there's quite a few, but it's to examine what we can do moving forward to to try to reduce the costs or better provide the programs and the policies to support our communities. So essentially, the task force would commence in February. We'd return to council with a final bylaw appointing the members and essentially adopting the terms of reference by bylaw in February. And then it's intended that the group would likely meet 6 times, with a final report being published in July or August to council. So the intent is here is that we would set up through staff, through the manager of public works, through the environmental superintendent who lead these areas of the township, sort of 6 sessions with the task force to examine. One could be similar situations in neighboring communities. I.e. we've met with Bancroft Mayor and the CAO there. But like programs, one could be with Aqua. We could discuss the contract of Aqua and stuff like that. So we would set up those 6 sessions in order to support the task force in trying to determine if there's different recommendations that they could bring forward to council. So these task force aren't uncommon. We had one recently as the Westmeath Recreation Task Force, and there's a fulsome report that came out of that with numerous recommendations that were directed to the members of council in supporting change and the like. So staff are prepared to fully engage in this with the support of the councillor leads, which is Councillor Olmsted and Councillor Moore. So it's noted that there'd be a maximum of 4 community members. Thanks so much.
Good, thank you, CAO. Councillor Moore is the mover.
Nice to see this come along. I sat on the last task force that was for recreation, so I am actually looking forward to this. Anything we can learn from this is a bonus. Just because councillors sit here, we think we know everything, but sometimes we find out we don't. So sometimes these task forces are really informative, and hopefully it will stop us from possibly going backwards. We want to go forward, we don't want to go backwards. So I'm looking forward to the task force. Thank you.
Good, and Councillor Olmsted, seconder.
Yeah, likewise, I'm looking forward to participating in the task force, learning from the members that will be on it, and more so, I think, showing that this isn't an us versus them thing, that we're really trying to collaborate with the community and the ratepayers to come to some solutions and recommendations. So I look forward to demonstrating that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from other members of council? Good. I too think that a task force is the right way to approach this, especially going forward. There are so many things that we could try to consider and decide as a group that we're going to task staff to go out and hire consultants to try and look at it from this perspective or this perspective. We're going to try to, over these 6 sessions, provide a general enough perspective on a variety of issues that task force can then come back to us and say, look, if you're going to spend time and effort and money, this is how we recommend council consider addressing our future life cycle costs. So I think it's going to be valuable, worthwhile, and I look forward to July and August. Any other questions or comments? We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Good. What we'll do now is we're going to take a short bio break. I need a bio break. minutes, and we'll break and then we'll come back. Just 1 second. And welcome back to the Township of Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for the 17th of January. We'll recall ourselves to order here at 6:15. Just a limited number of items left in our agenda. The next item is number 10, notices of motion. So I'll just go and look for any notices of motions from members of council. And I see one coming from Councillor Bell.
So it's not a notice of motion, I've just spoken to the clerk there, but just an announcement that I'm going to bring something forward at the next meeting. Something kind of jogged my interest tonight just with the introduction of one of the bylaws from the fire department. So I'm going to bring something forward. Hopefully we can investigate looking at a first response initiative from our fire department whenever it comes to medical calls. Especially in our more rural locations. So just putting that in the minds of everybody prior to our next meeting.
Excellent. I would call that a notice of motion, clerk. Yeah, it's good. Thank you. I looked at you already. Councillor Olmsted, any notice of motion?
I have none, thank you.
Good. Deputy Mayor? Yeah, you're good?
Thank you, Mayor.
Good. Okay, so we recognize Councillor Bell's notice of motion on first response initiatives for rural medical calls. Good. Next item on the agenda is number 11, correspondence. There are two information items here. The first item is to 2023 Christmas Angel update. And this is led by the OPP. And it's a thank you, and it's really just a trigger for us to highlight two office staff that led an outstanding initiative internal to the township to support this program. Sandra and Debbie, I've got CAOs nodding to make sure I got it right here, both worked very hard to collect and coordinate Christmas Angel donations from members of council, staff here at the township, and the return was incredible. I think one of our better years. CAO, do you want to add anything to that?
I would just add that we also receive these type of Christmas angels from the local group through Mrs. Helferty through the I think it's Cobden and Area Food Bank. So we also receive some of those and distribute those and collect gifts for those as well. So, but yeah, thanks to the two staff who've led this. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Perfect. And the second. Yes, yeah, this is the opportunity.
I'd just like to comment on that. I was participated in that, and I was surprised and happy to see that I could do the local one. And actually, after I was talking to a few people about what I was doing, we actually got more people involved. So yeah, and when I brought the gifts, unfortunately, I don't pay attention to dates at times, so I had to bring my gifts to the OPP for some people. And the amount of gifts that were there was amazing. And yeah, I think it's a wonderful program. I think if we can participate and get involved, it's wonderful.
Perfect. So just recognize Sandra and Debbie and the work that they do, aside with everything else that they're responsible for. It's an important project, and I think council would wholeheartedly support that to be continued. Good. Seeing everybody nod. A second item on the information items is the county council calendar. So this is the calendar for county council committee and council meetings, and it's enclosed I provided it to the staff so they knew when I was going to be completely absorbed in county stuff, but also it gives the public an opportunity to understand the process. Their budgeting process is a little bit different than what we've experienced, and their timelines and their schedule, so you can see when different meetings are typically going on. Good. Any questions or comments? Oh, CAO's got his finger on the button.
I would just add for the members of council, but also for the public, these committee meetings and council meetings, they are open to the public. They exist, they're happening, and they are fully accessible by the public. So if you want to go and see what the county council's up to and what they're looking at, the agendas are published and you could view them and you could attend these meetings and hear. So thanks so much.
Councillor Tabbert.
Where are the meetings held? Always at the county, or are they in different places?
99% of the time at the county. The Public Works one does rotate, so they can see different Public Works garages, but 99% they're televised regardless on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good. Just an example, this week, yesterday, Tuesday, operations spoke to our all-stop Haley's stop sign request. So that was discussed at committee with lots of input, I'm sure that Lane was involved in. And then today we talked about childcare as a result, the letter that we generated after our comments when the childcare presentation came. So that was presented. So there are a number of our issues that get tabled. And if you're interested, you just have to find the right point in the 3-hour meeting and where to zero in on your issues. But let me know, I can help you do that. Good. Is there any other comments on either one of these information items? Good. Seeing none. Announcements. And we'll start with the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just have one additional new hire. Scott Powell joined us in the Public Works Department on January the 8th as a driver operator. He comes to us from the town of Renfrew with 10 years of experience. And he's currently working, reporting out of the Township garage in Westmeath, at the Public Works garage in Westmeath. So we will see him out clearing our sidewalks, our parking lots in Westmeath, Beachburg, and Foresters Falls. So if you happen to see Scott out and about again, just as I did with Steph, if you would just be a big warm welcome and welcome again to the township. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Yet another mayor who's going to accuse me of stealing his employees. It's okay. It's okay. We want them. Good. Councillor Bell.
Just two announcements. So on January 24th, the Historical Society is going to be having their AGM. It's at 12 noon in the basement here. So for anybody that's interested in attending that, 12 o'clock in the basement. And the one other thing, so this Saturday, January 20th, the Muskrat Hockey Association is holding Muskrat Day in Westmeath. So all the House League Muskrat teams from U7 all the way up to U15 will be playing games between 8 and 5. The WDRA is putting on a breakfast in the hall upstairs from 7 until 10:30. It's $12 for adults, $7 for children ages 5 to 10, and free under 5. And then there is going to be some lunch available upstairs as well, and the canteen's going to be open. Throughout the day as well, there's going to be a 50-50 draw with the proceeds going to the Gould family, who had the barn fire here not long ago. So if anybody can come out and support Muskrat and support Gould family and the WDRA, it'd be great to see you guys out there.
Thanks, Councillor Bell. Councillor Tabbert.
I have nothing.
Thank you. And Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, thank you. I do have a few. One just got an update, as a matter of fact. The Cobb and Civitan Fishing Derby, which is slated for February 3rd, is going ahead with the exception of the fishing portion, if that's possible. They actually, this is a very important fundraiser for the Cobb and Civitan, and they do go ahead with the prize portion. So they are continuing to sell tickets. I think the early bird prizes have already been awarded, if I'm not mistaken, for the next 2 Saturdays. And this was just updated a minute ago. Apparently they're going to be inside a local hardware store selling tickets for the Derby for the next 2 Saturdays from morning till noon. So if you could participate with them, I'm sure there's other locations selling them as well, I would assume. But I'm not sure where they are. Bonashire Cup, we do have some locals that participate in that now that actually race in it. So it's the Eganville races, which is also February 3rd and 4th. And they are now back on the North American circuit, the racing circuit, which is, I'm not that aware of what that looks like, but apparently it's now an international racing circuit that they are back a part of. And the Douglas Frosty Fun is also in a couple of weeks from February 9th to 11th. And I did have Foresters Falls written down, but I don't have the date. You know that offhand? The carnival? Yeah. Yeah. So Forces Falls is coming up. If you have a date, send it in, text us. I think it is before the Cobb and Fishing Derby, I think, like the last weekend in February, I thought. In January, I'm sorry. And last but not least, the Dick family wanted me to send along a heartfelt thank you for the lowering of the flags for Mr. Alan Dick's passing. So I am now forwarding that on. Thank you.
Possibly February 17th is what I just got.
Okay.
Good, so just to confirm, February 17th for Foresters Falls.
Forces Falls Winter Carnival, one day, February 17th.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Councillor Olmsted. And Councillor Moore.
Nothing, thank you.
Councillor Trim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have three if I can. And with your permission, I'd like to read the first one. I don't want to miss anything. The Township of Whitewater region, in partnership with the Township of Greater Madawaska, was successful in receiving a provincial grant in 2023 for the creation of a marketing strategy and marketing materials for each of the two townships. We issued a request for proposal for the work last year, and the marketing agency Cinnamon Toast was successful. The objective of this project is to promote what makes Whitewater region a great place, with the goals of increasing tourism and investment into our area, as well as boosting community pride. Cinnamon Toast is conducting an online survey as part of their market research. The data collected from the survey will help them determine what our strengths are as a community and what residents want to see in future marketing efforts. We are encouraging as many residents, including council, as possible to take the survey, which you can find on the homepage of the Township's website and on the Township's social media accounts. And I can say today at 2 o'clock, I was interviewed by a representative from Cinnamon Toast to do a one-to-one in-person a survey. And so I've completed that, and I encourage all residents to do the same. Secondly, kudos to our treasurer, Curtis McGonigal, and his staff. I don't know if you're aware or not, but we were the first municipality in Renfrew County to pass our budget. And I can remember on council many years ago when we would spend almost half the budget before we passed it. And so this is great. And you know, on behalf of all the residents, this is really good. So I wanted to mention that, and also because I brought up a comment about a delegation at Roma, I didn't mention that we were successful in getting an audience with Minister Cho, who is the Minister of Seniors and Accessibility. And so we will be meeting with him, and perhaps this CIO Burton, who has compiled a presentation, could speak a little further to that.
Yeah, the presentation is currently underway. Certainly we'll be thanking the minister, which we have over the last 2 or 3 years, and through Mayor Nicholson's leadership a number of years ago when this all got started. But yeah, thanking him with respect to our previously successful grants, who have allowed us to have the Whitewater Seniors Active Living and Home Support. So certainly we are going to lean on him again to try to continue that support into the 2024 and 2025 as we move forward. So in addition to that, our new manager brought to my attention that we should also try to engage with the minister around accessibility of our facilities. So something that I had not considered, but certainly something that I'll discuss with the mayor as we prepare our brief for the minister. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you, CAO. Thanks, Councillor Trim. The only thing I will highlight is just for the public is about Roma. So the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, which we've referred to about these delegations, takes place this weekend, starting Sunday morning. So it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday till noon, so essentially 2 full days and 2.5 days. We have a number of members of council that will be attending. I believe it's Councillor Moore, Councillor Tabbert, myself, Councillor Trim, Councillor Olmsted. So lots of great representation from Whitewater region. And although we only have the one delegation this time, with the second one being a virtual one at a later date, there's still going to be opportunity for us to engage with other communities. Bancroft, if they're there, comes to mind for me. And as well as other agencies like Aqua and trail associations and a number of other organizations. So the networking opportunity is tremendous, and hopefully we'll have as much success this go around as we've had in the summer and last Roma. So looking forward to it. Yeah, Councillor Trim.
Yes, I just want to mention that in addition to councillors, CAO Burton will be attending to support our efforts.
Excellent. No other last minute announcements? Okay, we'll move on to our bylaws. So 13.1 for today, January 17th, the recommendation, be it resolved that the bylaws listed on the January 17th, 2024 agenda be taken as read and passed. And just to confirm, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes.
Okay, so just to confirm, there are 6 bylaws listed on our agenda. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Tabbert, seconded by Councillor Trim. Is there any questions or comments on any of these 6 bylaws before us? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Clerk, I'll just confirm there's no closed session planned for today? None. So with that, we are adjourned at 6:32 p.m. Thank you. And our next council meeting will be February 7th, 1 p.m. Is that right, CAO? Yeah, good. Excellent. Thank you, guys. That's it.